The lives of the pharaohs were not merely those of kings, they were sagas of gods who walked the earth, burdened by divinity and obsessed with eternity. From the moment the first light of dawn touched the limestone walls of their palaces, every breath, gesture, and ritual was orchestrated like a sacred hymn to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order that held chaos at bay. The pharaoh, believed to be the living embodiment of Horus, son of Osiris and Isis, was more than a ruler. He was the axis upon which the universe turned. His rituals ensured the Nile would flood, his offerings appeased the gods, and his very presence warded off the encroaching darkness of disorder. Each morning began with purification priests chanting as sacred water cleansed his body, servants anointing him with oils of myrrh and frankincense, kohl lining his eyes not for vanity, but to shield against the sun god Ra's wrath. He donned the double crown, symbol of Upper and Lower Egypt united, and gripped the crook and flail emblems of his role as shepherd of his people and enforcer of divine justice. Yet beneath this gilded performance lay a man imprisoned by his own godhood, every step measured, every word weighted with consequence, every dream scrutinized for omens from the gods. Within the opulent confines of the royal court, power was a silent war waged in whispers and shadows. The pharaoh's household was a labyrinth of intrigue, where queens, concubines, and heirs jostled for influence in a game where love was strategy and family loyalty a fragile illusion. To preserve the purity of their divine bloodline, pharaohs married sisters, half-sisters, and even daughters, a practice that elevated them above mortal morality, but condemned their lineage to genetic decay. King Tutankhamun, the boy king whose golden mask now defines ancient Egypt in the modern imagination, was likely the product of such incestuous unions, suffering from a cleft palate, clubbed foot, and spinal deformities that made each step a struggle. His brief life, cut short at 19, unfolded under the shadow of his father, Akhenaten, the heretic king who shattered centuries of tradition by abolishing the pantheon and worshipping only the Aten, the sun disk. Akhenaten reshaped art, architecture, and religion in his image, moving the capital to Amarna and erasing the name of Amun from temples. But his revolution died with him, his monuments defaced, his name struck from history, a cautionary tale of how even a god-king could fall from grace. And yet, for all their earthly power, the pharaohs were consumed by one unrelenting obsession: death, not as an end, but as a transition to eternal glory. Their lives were spent preparing for the afterlife with a fervor that bordered on the fanatical. The Great Pyramid of Giza, a mountain of stone built for Pharaoh Khufu, stands as the ultimate testament to this obsession, a resurrection machine designed to launch his soul into the stars. Constructed over decades by tens of thousands of laborers, it was not just a tomb but a cosmic engine, aligned with celestial precision to guide the pharaoh's spirit among the imperishable stars. But even these wonders were not enough for some. In the earliest dynasties, the journey to the afterlife required human sacrifice. At Abydos, the tomb of Pharaoh Jer was surrounded by 318 subsidiary gravesmen, women and children strangled or bludgeoned, buried in neat rows to serve their master in eternity. These retainer sacrifices, though later abandoned, reveal the chilling extent of pharaohic power. Life itself was expendable in service of a god-king's immortality. As time passed, the methods evolved, but the obsession remained. Mummification became an elaborate alchemy of preservation, organs removed, bodies desiccated with natron, wrapped in linen, laced with spells from the Book of the Dead. Tombs in the Valley of the Kings were carved deep into rock, hidden and booby-trapped, filled with shabby figurines meant to magically serve the deceased. Yet even these precautions failed. Nearly every royal tomb was plundered, their treasures scattered, mummies disturbed. Ramses II, once the mightiest of them all, found broken and re-wrapped by priests who moved his body to save it from robbers. His final resting place, a museum in Cairo where millions gaze upon his aquiline nose and shock of white hair, a relic of a forgotten empire. And still, the pharaohs endure not in flesh, but in myth. Hatshepsut, the woman who ruled as king, her statues defaced by her successor Thutmose III in an attempt to erase her reign, has been resurrected by archaeology. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh whose political genius rivaled her legendary beauty, remains an icon of power and tragedy. Ramses the Great, builder of Abu Simbel, father of over 100 children, sculpted his image onto every monument, even carving over the names of predecessors, a brazen act of self-deification that ensured his legacy outlasted empires. Through their tombs, their mummies, and the hieroglyphs that whisper their names, they achieved the immortality they so desperately sought, not in the field of reeds, but in our collective memory. For all their splendor and cruelty, their divine pretensions and human frailties, the pharaohs remain mirrors reflecting our deepest fears and desires, the hunger for meaning, the terror of oblivion, the longing to be remembered. They were tyrants and visionaries, prisoners of ritual and architects of wonder. And though their pyramids rise silent under the desert sun, their story continues not as distant history, but as an eternal echo across the sands of time, reminding us that even gods are mortal, and even mortals can become legends.